From the College by the Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discussing the issues and topics affecting the way you live are on Forum, the North Idaho College Public Forum, with your host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart.
Our guest today is Robert Lejean, who is visiting with us from Eastern Europe, and we're delighted to have him on the program. And he was very generous to come today to discuss what is going on in Eastern Europe and some issues that we have been dealing with recently on this program. Our guest is living now in Prague, and as you know, that country has broken into two parts, and there is Czech, where Prague is located, the city of Prague, and also Slovak Republic. There are now two republics instead of one country. And our guest is also studying to be an engineer in nuclear physics, and we're going to deal with some of the questions that he sees in relation to that issue, both in Europe and the United States, along with what's going on politically in the dividing of Czechoslovakia into these two new republics. As always, I'm very pleased to have our two regular panelists, which will join with me in asking the questions today. First of all, is Janelle Burke, who is an attorney in the state of Idaho, and next to her is Steve Schenck, who is Dean of College Relations and Development at North Idaho College, and I shall ask Janelle to commence the questioning.
Welcome to our show today. Robert, in order to help our viewers get to know you, can you tell us, first of all, where did you grow up? And secondly, where do you live now? And then third, how did you come to this country? So first of all, let's talk about where did you grow up?
Okay, I grew up in small town Příbram. It's 60 kilometers, it means 30 miles south from Prague, and there has been the biggest uranium mines in Czechoslovakia since 50s in 1989, and now I live in Prague, and I study in Prague at the Faculty of Nuclear Science and Physical Engineering. My direction is dosimetry. And I would like to focus on impacts of radiation on human body. And it's therefore situation around Hanford facility in Washington State is very interesting for me.
Because you're studying the effects of radiation on the human body. Mm-hmm. And now, how did you happen to come to this country? What is the purpose for you to be here? What kind of a program are you on?
This stay is supported by German Marshall Fund in the USA, and is for 10 people from Eastern Europe, from Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Hungary, for people who work in environmental organizations. Yeah. That means that I am staying in Spokane by Hanford Education Action League, and other people stay somewhere in the United States. Yeah.
And so you've come to Spokane, and now you're going to be traveling on to Hanford and meeting there and viewing the facilities there, relative to your interest in the effects of radiation on the human body.
Yes, for me it's very interesting case or issue of downwinters, so-called downwinters. It's I recorded 3 life stories of 3 women from Hanford place, and I would like to write article about situation there in one Czech journal, because it's very interesting for us.
Steve Schenck.
Robert, would you back up just a little bit and tell us more about Prague? Could you explain that? Most of our viewers and me certainly have never been there. Tell me a little bit about the city.
No, this city is totally different from American cities. It's a very old city, and there is possible to find old kind or style of architecture. It means Roman, Baroque, Rococo, everything. And it is historical center, very beautiful center. But neighborhoods of Prague are modern, and our modern architecture isn't, it's my opinion, isn't nice. Your modern architecture is more beautiful, if it's possible to say, because it was a little socialistic style of buildings, yeah, like in Russia. And there are many changes in Prague now. Is going to be a better culture for young people. Many new rock clubs and reggae clubs, and it's fine. But center of Prague is also very expensive for Czech people, because there is everything for foreigners, and you know that our currency and Western Europeans' currency are different. Yes.
Is Prague the capital of the new Republic of Czech?
Yes, it's capital of Czech Republic.
And how large is Prague?
There are 2 million inhabitants. It's good. I think it isn't so large like American largest cities like San Francisco, but for Europe it's big city.
Big city. How long have you been in the United States now?
2.5 weeks.
Oh, you've just arrived. And did you tell us earlier, or did I hear you when we were talking before the show, did you say you're staying about a year? Is that correct?
No.
Oh, no, not that long.
No,
it's a short visit.
It's a short visit. It's for 1 month, only for 1 month. And on the one side it's long time, on the other side very short, because I met here many interesting people, and I would like to meet more people, because
you did mention that you are studying nuclear science. Is this a part of your studies, or we have a tendency to talk in terms of credits that students receive for classes that they take. I don't know if that applies to your studies, but is this actually a part of a class you're taking, or something you're doing just because you're interested?
I don't know if I understand, but it's a faculty of nuclear science, and there is the first 2 years are general physics and mathematics, base of it, basic, and next 3 years I can choose my specialization or direction, and I've chosen dosimetry.
The visit to the United States, so this 1 month you're spending here, is that any part of your formal studies, or is it?
No. It's because I work as a volunteer in environment organization.
I see.
Called EcoWatt, and target of my stay here is meet American environment organizations, which are interested in energy production or against nuclear power. Yeah.
I have just one question about the 2 new republics, and then I want to get into your field of what you're so concerned about in the issue of radiation. So many Americans are unaware of the sizes of the 2 new republics, of both Czech and Slovak. Can you compare those 2 now as far as population or resources? One is larger than the other one. Is one going to be more powerful economically than the other one?
Yes, Czech Republic is larger, 2 times larger than Slovakia, and there live 10 million people in Czech Republic. In Slovak Republic, 5 million people. But structure of our economy and industry is very different. It depends on history. In Slovakia has a very bad structure of industry. There is heavy industry and military industry, and other industry is in Czech Republic. Therefore, it isn't so good for Slovak's economy, this splitting.
The Czech economy will probably be much better than the Slovak Republic.
Yes, it depends on history, because Czech lands were in Austria Empire. I don't know how to call it English exactly. In Austrian Empire, and industry of this empire was focused in Czech lands in the beginning of this century. Yeah.
Some of our journalists or people who've been in Europe and report back to us have indicated that the population, the general population, was really not for the division, it was more the political leaders. Is that true? The people were not so interested in breaking into two republics?
Yes, I think that it's only a political game, because it isn't true that Czech people hate Slovak people and Slovak people hate Czech people. It's stupid idea, and it's political game. And since last elections was very clear that Czechoslovakia will be splitted, because Slovak government and Czech government are totally different. Slovak government is more orientated on East, on Russia, on Ukraine, and ideas of Slovak government about economy is more socialistic. Yeah. And our government is orientated on Western Europe, and our transformation of economy is orientated on Western market. And it was very clear that it isn't sustainable, this, Czechoslovakia.
In answering one of my questions, you indicated that in the Slovak Republic that there was some very heavy industry and poor environmental laws. We've been reading again a lot about all Eastern Europe now since it's opened up and we know more about it, that during this long period of time in which the communists were controlling the Eastern European countries, that there really weren't any regulations to prevent putting of chemicals into the water and the air pollution and so forth. Is the environmental condition as bad as we hear it is?
Unfortunately, it is, because Czechoslovakia has the most polluted environment in Europe. And yes, it depends on philosophy of our industry from communist period, from communist regime. And for example, in Czech Republic, maybe you know about Northern Bohemia. There are concentrated coal mines and old coal power plants, and this area is very, very polluted, and children and people are sick, and it's very actual or very recent question how to solve the situation there. And unfortunately, our government and our nuclear lobby want to solve this situation by building new nuclear power plants. But we it means an environmental movement, we think that we have many other alternatives, more cheaper, more faster, and better for future.
Could you give us an example of one or two of those other sources of energy you think would be cheaper and cleaner than the nuclear power?
At first, saving, because our industry is very old, and it's necessary to modernize it, and it means 30-40% of energy we can save. Yeah, we can save 30% of energy. It's really a big amount. And at second, modernizing of these old coal power plants on Western European standard, it's also necessary, because it's necessary to help these people who live in this area. And of course, alternative sources of energy. And also a new energy policy, like in the United States. Maybe you know about what is it, least cost planning. It means that it's necessary to investigate if it's cheaper to build a new power plant or to save this amount of energy. Yeah, and it still doesn't work in Czech Republic.
Janelle Berg.
Sometimes we think that our problems here are the only problems in the world, but obviously, from what you're saying, there are problems all over the world. Can you tell us a little bit about what you see as the problems that are related to nuclear power plants in terms of the way it might even impact us in this country as well as just in Europe? How are Europe and the United States tied together in terms of energy and useful energy, safe energy?
I think it's a very hard question. At first, for example, pollutions and CO2 in atmosphere, it means global warming. It's a global problem. At second, nuclear waste. It's also a global problem, and it isn't solved in the United States as well as in Europe.
We have no place to put it, and you have no place to put it there as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, of course. And I think also, for example, influence of big companies, because we have one nuclear power plant under construction, and Westinghouse, American company Westinghouse, wants to finish this nuclear power plant with American fuel and American safety system. And the problem is that Czech Republic doesn't need electricity from this nuclear power plant. It is very clear. But there is a very strong pressure from our nuclear industry and from Westinghouse to our government. And our government still supports the finishing of this nuclear power plant. Yeah.
One of the concerns that I'm sure many people have is with regard to safety of nuclear power plants. Are there any mechanisms in place in your government to make sure that your nuclear power plants are safe?
I think any nuclear power plants aren't safe, but our government says that our nuclear power plants have a Soviet type of reactor, VVR, and our government says if Westinghouse will finish this nuclear power plant with this American safety system, it's going to be safe. But it's a problem because it's something new, Soviet reactor and American system. It's experiment. But it means if this nuclear power plant will be finished, it means open door to Eastern market. It means to Russia, because there is many similar nuclear power plants. Therefore, I think there is so strong pressure from these nuclear companies.
Steve Sheen.
Robert, since the change in government in your country, is there anything that the government is doing that you think is positive in the way of solving environmental problems?
It is my personal opinion now. I think that situation is going to be worse because our former government before these elections was more pluralistic, but now the strongest, the most powerful party is ODS. It is party our Prime Minister Klaus, and Prime Minister Klaus is very powerful, and he's good economist, but he thought that environment it's on the last place in program. And top is economy and environment is in bottom, and I think it's bad.
What about the people in your republic? How do they feel? You're obviously very concerned about the environment, and there are people in this country that are as well, a growing number of people, I would say. but there are still many people who, like your government, don't place the environment at the top of their priorities. How do you feel about the other people in your country?
You know, it's difficult because there are many changes. Our economy is changed and many people are concerned in economic situation and on own situation because everything is going to be more expensive now. Yeah, and environmental problems, unfortunately, are below economic problems for many people. But about economic situation, many people still believe in this transformation. But environmentalists think that there exists a better way for this transformation. That isn't necessary to go on the same road or way like Western European countries in the 60s, 70s. That it's possible to learn something. Yeah, we don't need to make the same mistakes. Yeah, it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
But our government is very conservative, and yeah, I think it's a problem.
I hear you saying that because of some economic troubles, and we've around the world had economic problems, including the United States, and of course when people are out of work, their number one concern is getting a job. And so is that part of this problem? And is that why the government's position is probably very much supported by the people, is that they're looking at a kind of economy that will produce higher employment and higher wages?
I don't know if I understand good, but it's true that people support this government. Support because our transformation of economy is more successful than in other European countries, than
Yes.
Poland or Russia or Romania. But can you repeat this question?
Yes, you answered
Okay.
what I was getting at. We've heard a lot about what was the Soviet Union. Of course, there's where there was great secrecy, and now a lot of things are coming into the public's area of information. And one of those, of course, was the details of the Chernobyl accident where the nuclear power plant exploded. And I saw some statistics the other day where half of the radiation is still in the plant, and the other half, of course, exploded and they buried that. But the half that is still within the plant is now sinking. They poured concrete over it and it's sinking into a water system. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of information that's coming into the Czech Republic and other places, is that affecting either the government or how the people feel about what kind of methods you might use dealing with nuclear power plants?
Nuclear energy was taboo for 40 years, and in the last 3 years it was a boom of information, and just now we know what was happened in Chernobyl. It was everything was, I don't know, secret, I like to call it, and many people aren't decided what to think about nuclear energy. And in these days, there are very big campaign in newspapers and in TV about public opinion about this issue.
Tell us a little bit about the organization. I saw it in your literature that I got, ECOWAT, I believe it's called, that you're involved with. Are not only in the environmental area, but in other areas. Are there a lot of groups that are coming now into being or being organized now that you have this freedom to which you can lobby the government or ask the government and also the public? There's a lot of what we call in this country grassroots or from the people organizations. Tell us a little about your organization and others.
No, I know environmental grassroots organizations, and there are many new organizations or environmental movements, but the problem is that we haven't experienced like organizations in the United States, because it's something new to can lobby government or parliament and to lead campaign against big companies, and it's starting to be a large environmental movement in Czech Republic.
And I assume other organizations on other things are also beginning to organize, are they, in other issues other than environment?
Of course, EcoWatt is interesting, is focused on energy production, but there are many other organizations focused on recycling, on air pollution, or there are movement, for example, Rainbow Movement. This movement is focused on all environmental issues, maybe like Greenpeace or like this.
Janelle Burke.
I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about your special interest, which is the effects of nuclear energy on human beings and human bodies. What do your studies show? What are some of the dangers?
I don't understand exactly. Can you repeat it?
Yes. I know that you're especially interested in what happens to the human body if they're exposed to nuclear, certain kinds of nuclear energy or waste. What are the things that happen? What does happen to the body if it's exposed to nuclear waste? Do you know what happens? What's going to happen to us?
Yes, I know, but it's a very general question. Very danger is to, for example, to breathe dust, radioactive dust. I said I grew up in Příbram, where uranium mines, and there are many tailings. It means waste from uranium mines.
I've been told we're out of time. I want to thank you on behalf of our panel, our staff being with us. It's been, Roberta, very, very informative. Thank you for stopping here on your visit, and we hope it's a nice visit in the United States.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed our program, and that this opportunity to discuss what's going on in Eastern Europe compared with the United States, and dealing with some of the new countries, and this whole question also of what's happening on issues in the area of nuclear questions. I would like to invite you to be with us again next week at this same time, when we will discuss what we believe to be a significant issue. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
The North Idaho College Public Forum was videotaped live from the studios of Telemedia Services on the campus of North Idaho College for viewing at this more appropriate time. We invite you to join us again next week for another all-new edition of the North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station.